Side Singers. Woohoo!
Come single bell and bow, unto me pay attention. Don't ever fall in love, it's the devil's own invention. For once I fell in love with a maiden so bewitching, Miss Henrietta Bell, out of Captain Kelly's kitchen. With me tooraloo-la, me tooraloo-la, dee, me tooraloo-la, and me tooraloo-la, dee. At the age of 17, I was apprenticed to a grocer, not far from Stephen Street, where Miss Henry used to go, sir. Her manners were sublime, she set me heart a-twitching, and she invited me to a holy in the kitchen. With me tooraloo-la, me tooraloo-la, dee, me tooraloo-la, and me tooraloo-la, dee.
As I went walking one morning in May, I spied a young couple who fondly did stray. I and one was a young maid so sweet and so fair, and the other was a soldier and a brave grenadier. And they kissed so sweet and comforting as they clung to each other. They went arm in arm along the road like sister and brother. They went arm in arm along the road till they came to a stream. And they both sat down together, loved to hear the nightingale sing. And out of his knapsack he pulled a fine fiddle, and he played such a merry tune as you ever did hear. Yes, he played such a merry tune as the valleys did ring. And they both sat down together, loved to hear the nightingale sing. And they kissed so sweet and comforting as they clung to each other. They went arm in arm along the road like sister and brother. They went arm in arm along the road till they came to a stream. And they both sat down together, loved to hear the nightingale sing. Oh, I'm off to India for many a long year, drinking wine and strong whiskey instead of cold beer. And if ever I return again, it'll be in the spring. And we'll both sit down together, love to hear the nightingale sing. And they kiss so sweet and comforting as they clung to each other. They went arm in arm along the road like sister and brother. They went arm in arm along the road till they came to a stream. And they both sat down to bed, loved to hear the nightingale sing. And they both sat down together, loved to hear the nightingale sing.
Killed him, nothing big, just left him on the side of the road. So Duff left Monsterevin, headed for Kildare, found this young officer on the ground dead. His father was a captain in the Dublin militia. The men knew the young lad, so they went bananas. Half burnt Kildare town and tried to hang one of the priests there. Someone cut him down, but he was never the full knick-knack after that. So they continued on to Gibbetrat. Gibbetrat, Dundas was on one side going to take the surrender. A lot of people got caught up in this rebellion, had no interest, and they seen things weren't going great, so they says, look, we'll take our chances. There's an amnesty. We'll go to Gibbetrat. So they went out. So you had Dundas on one side, and Duff came in on the other side with the Monsterevin yeomanry. Sent them forward as scouts and that. Sent them forward to tell them down their weapons and to surrender. He didn't know Dundas was there. Different accounts is that someone shot, someone refused to hand over their gun loaded, so they shot in the air and all hell broke loose. Another one was that the shot hit the Monsterevin yeomanry and all hell broke loose. Another one is that just went to town. So 350 people were killed there, so there was. So all this area bubbling away, so it was for 1798. So United Irishman, he's a fancy one. I think he's a Protestant from the Ulster because he has a gun, a fancy jacket on it. So then you have the Kildare militia. Every county was expected you'd be conscription would come in. And where do you think you get the names of people and their dates of birth at that time? The church. The church. So you have the church up here in Passlands. The church in the Passlands was closed in 1796 by the people of the town. They blocked it up. No mass was said for 2 years because the priest was given their names.
I see a priest was hung in 1798 over there.
That's Father Prendergast.
Yeah.
Father Prendergast was a Kildangan man, which was unusual. He trained in Salamanca, and because Father Dunn was having so much trouble with the locals boarding up his church and no one was going to mass, we don't know for a fact, but it looks like they said, look, we'll send one of their own, he might be able to calm the situation. So he was out in Kildangan doing a christening, and after Gibbetrat, the massacre, a lot of the people escaped out to Barnhill. It was kind of in the middle of the bog, dry area. They could see from miles around that coming. So they went down to Father Prendergast, asked him would he give last rites to the dying. So that's what he did. He came up, did last rites to the dying. He was seen. He was then arrested. He was told he was going to be arrested. He was arrested. He was brought up to Monsterevin House up here, just beyond Willoughby's. He was charged. It was court-martial, so there were officers. And Father Dorn went in to see him, and a shot was fired, so they were afraid he was actually going to be an attempt to break him out was going to be made, so they took him across the road and hung him. There was an interesting character up in Morabi at that time. What was his name, Barry?
Lord Huron, the man that gave the order for Father Prendergast to be arrested and hanged was a guy called Lord Chirali, and he was the Baron of the Exchequer in Ireland. He was also the Barrack Master General. And one of the other jobs he held, among many of these jobs, he doled out the Secret Service money. So everybody that was being paid by the Secret Service in Ireland, he knew who they were and where they were and what information they were given. And in 1798, he's not in Dublin, he's staying up in Morabi House up at the end of the street here. And before he leaves to go back to his home place in Galway, he gives an order to the local military officers in charge to arrest a priest and hang him, and that'll quiet the people, because this was one of his little trademarks. He went back up to Galway, where he's from, and he did the very same thing. He took the local priest and he hanged him, and he quieted the people around. And that's what happened here as well, because when Father Prendergast was hanged, everything started to quiet down. The people started to drift back from the camps and into their own homes. And even the local yeomen here started to kind of ease back on the terror that was going on, and people decided that enough was enough and it was time to get back to normal life again.
So yeah, so it's an interesting period. So like when you hear 1916 and republicanism and all that, it didn't start in Dublin. It started on the streets of Carlow and Wexford and Kildare and Dublin. But it's an interesting period, and everyone thinks it's the British against the Irish. It's not. It's very much the Irish against the Irish. It just happens to be Crown forces, Loyalists and Republicans on the other side. It would have been brilliant if the ideals of the Republic had sunk into sectarianism very fast, so it did on both sides. So it did some terrible things on both sides. You can get a That's the Wexford one. This is Kildare pipe. So this an original one was found out in Cloneygat, and there's not too many of them left. So the Wexford boys were smart hooers, so they were. So they added the hook. Now you have to remember they were actually working on the docks and stuff, and they were using a tool very like this for dragging in the boats and dragging in stuff. So they said, look, if it worked for that, it'll gaff a lad off a horse or it'll cut the bridle. So that's how the Wexford boys started to introduce it. So then you have your blunderbuss. This is Dublin Med 1. It's about 1780. At that time, Dublin was actually, for manufacturing, was the high end. Dublin Silver, Dublin Gunsmiths, Dublin Swords, they were at the top level. So they were far superior than anything that could be bought in Britain. So this is your home security, you could call it. And everyone thinks it's flared at the top to spread the shot. That's not the real reason for it. These were used quite a bit on coaches and on top of riggings, sails. So you can imagine you're on top of a coach and you're trying to load it. Imagine trying to load something that small. It's very hard. When it's open like this, it's far easier. And you can put anything into it, so you can. So that's the reason for the flare at the top. The only problem is you have to be about from here to do any harm.
It's not loaded, is it?
No. So then you have here Peter Conlon, for making his bullet and his flask. Now he assassinated Magistrate Dara Johnson out at Eagle Hill, wasn't it?
Eagle Hill, yeah.
Yeah. Interesting character. So was Johnson. Johnson wore a mail coat, so he did. So you had to get in, so you shot him in the... So he did. So it took a while for him to die. But Conlon hid in the dry well, which was basically the sewerage. And the maids fed him, and after a couple of days he was able to escape. Took part in the rebellion. But then in 1803 he pops up again in the Robert Emmet rebellion in Dublin. And he was working on the rockets. Emmet was trying to develop rockets he had some great ideas and he had some wild ideas. So a bit like after the Second World War, the Russians and the Americans picked up the German. When Robert Emmet's failed, they picked up the fellas that were working on the rockets and they shifted them across to
The Royal Arsenal in Woolwich.
Woolwich. And he worked on the Congreve rockets for the British after that. He reappeared then in Monsterevin with a few bob in his pocket, and a number of years later. So he's an interesting character, but the family handed this over to us just for display purposes, which is great to have. So it is. Then you have the flag, the United Irishmen flag. It's the only one that there's a reference to in Kildare that we know for definite. Was used in Kilcullen. We think it's Ireland United, and you have your Harp of Erin and Erin Gabra. So then you have your pistols. The likes of Barry will be carrying pistols. He won't be caught dead with a musket. So nice, small, one shot. So it is. Then again, you have to be up nice and close. And then you have your brown best musket. 200 years this was the top end of warfare. So it was pretty simple to use. You handle the cartridge. You bite the bullet. That's where the term comes, bite the bullet. Put a pinch in here, close the frizzen, cast it out. Goes down goes the powder, down goes the paper, in goes the bullet. You'll see on Sharp and all these fellas going, these get extremely hot and you'll leave your lips on top of it, so you will. Plus it's not unknown for them to flash up. So then you ram the charge, shoulder when ready, the officer will know when everyone's ready at the shoulder. Then it's make ready, full cock, present, and fire. Then it's back to recover. A good soldier at that time is 3 rounds a minute, so it gives a constant rate of fire. So you can imagine the locals in the town, in St. John's, behind the walls with them, the lads, tearing across the old town's bridge that was over here, a wooden one, getting just mowed out of it. So it was. So it's a very interesting period. If you want to see any of the weapons, get any pictures with the boys only love to get pictures taken. So there's no problem. Barry's a major in Kildare Militia. It's private. Also private with a very dandy hat, so he has. Killed his pussy cat, so he did to put him on top of it. That's tarleton helmet, height of fashion at the time. Absolute height of fashion. So Jerry is actually one of these very fashionable. And one of Jerry's ancestors rode with the Monsterevin yeomanry, didn't it, Jerry?
Yeah, it did.
Yes, it did.
Sort of feels like home.
So this is the Royal Irish Artillery, would have worked out of Chapel Lizard in Dublin. They would have been running the artillery pieces throughout the campaign. Very poor, so they had a tendency to lose artillery pieces to the rebels. Unfortunately, a lot of the United Irishmen had no knowledge of working them properly. That was the big problem, because there's a science to warfare at this stage. Getting artillery, infantry, cavalry all working together, it takes a bit of doing. So that's it. That's all the lies I can think of at the minute. So if you want to see any of the weapons, as I say, or hold them, there's no problem.
Irish dancing. And as we bring them on stage now, they're led by their teacher, Mary, and Michelle Morrissey. And there's many little ones here. This might be their first time to perform on stage, so I want you to give them a big round of applause as they come on stage with lots of support and love.